CC Peeps is noble. Okay, check this out. Live interview in the CC crib with, no joke, one of the first CC graduates of the entire program. Right here, live, in person, in the flesh. So literally, well, I'll let him explain the story, but okay. Sir, can you give me your name, please?
All right, I'm Chris Blackburn. Is that just all you want to know?
Okay. So tell us the story. So you were like in the very first class, or how did that work?
Right, so you may have heard the story. We started Classical Conversations almost 21 years ago or so. And my mom was one of the people that attended the first ever meeting when she held it. And so my oldest sister was in her class with Robert. And then when she started the Foundations program, I think 4 years later, I was, I think 4 or 5, somewhere in there. And so I went through the whole program with her youngest son, or her, not her youngest, but her second youngest son, William Bortons. And was with him for a long time, but then went through the rest of the program. That's really close.
No, for the audio.
Then, yeah. So then I went through the rest of the program and did the Mandala Fellowship program, which was her stab at like a kind of liberal arts quadrivium program. And then from there, I started working at CC, and I've been working there for, I guess, 5 years now.
Okay, that is awesome. So let me ask you this. So when you said Mrs. Borton started the first class with Robert and your oldest?
My oldest sister.
Your oldest sister, okay. And that was Challenge.
That was Challenge 1, I believe, is
Okay.
the first one she did. She did Challenge 1, and then she did 2, 3, 4, and then she...
With them?
Yeah.
With Robert, your oldest sister, and maybe a couple of the kids?
Yeah, like, I think 12 total. Yeah.
Okay. And so then by the time they graduated Challenge 4, then you started...
Then people were asking her, like, can you do something for the younger kids? We want to do something with them. And then that's where the Foundations program came out of. It wasn't something she'd planned to create. It was just something she saw a need for, and then realized that, laying a really good foundations for the Challenge program would have helped those students go through it.
Oh. So she kind of reverse engineered. So seriously, that wasn't part of the game plan, though?
No.
So just like after a couple years, she's like, man. So I'm sure she probably started planning that 2 or 3 years in, or do you know that kind of level of detail?
I was 1. I was like seriously sitting in a diaper playing with William at the first information meeting.
That's crazy. Okay, so let me ask you, and you went from Foundations all the way through Challenge 4.
Yeah.
Wow. So bro, like, what was that like?
It was good. I mean, I've been blessed by it. I'm still with the company. I really appreciate and I'm passionate about what we do. I think it's good. I think it's one of the most fulfilling things that you can do is to home educate your children. And so, if you're called to do it, and I think everyone is in some degree called to do it, then absolutely should be homeschooling, home educating your children, because it's the only way you're going to instill your values into them in order to be an active part of their life. So I like it. I appreciate that I was homeschooled. I think it was good. So
what were some of can you remember like any of the highlights or any things that maybe stood out to you along your journey that you really enjoyed the most, maybe?
Highlights from the program. Well, I love Challenge 3. I like to say that was my favorite year of the program, and for a couple of reasons. One, we did Shakespeare that year, and I loved Shakespeare. I loved doing the memorization for that and reading the books and kind of getting a window into the English language that I didn't have previously. And so doing Shakespeare that year was phenomenal. I also had Heather Shirley that year, and she was one of the most influential tutors that I had. And so the one thing she said a lot was, we are indeed kings, for we know how to govern ourselves. And that stuck with me throughout Challenge 4, and then like going on to Mandala, and now where I work. So I'd say in terms of like program, Challenge 3. Other outstanding things. Probably a lot.
So let me ask you this. So do you feel, and obviously this is going to maybe a tough question to answer, but how, what kind of things do you feel like you learned that maybe some of your peers in other education models did not learn? So I was a public school guy, right? I always had a big giant class of, my smallest class was like 30 kids. You know, do you have any, I know you did homeschool your whole life, so maybe you don't have any good comparison.
Yeah, so I was in a public educational building twice in my life, once for a basketball camp and then once for driver's ed. So I mean, aside from that, I was never in public school, and so I don't know specifically from personal experience. I know anecdotally what I was not exposed to, and I don't think I neglected or lacked anything in education. And while I could say some broad, sweeping, generalized comment about I learned this, whereas they didn't learn this, there are going to be exceptions. I'm sure there are a lot of kids. I know a lot of public educated children that learned, a lot in their education. They came out incredibly intelligent and very driven. And so I'm not going to speak negatively of that system. I don't think it's ideal, though, and I don't think it treats all the children that are in that system well. And so, getting the personalized attention and growing up learning alongside your parents. For me, seeing your parents learning and actively engaging with ideas, I think gave me a passion and love for learning. And so I think that's why you should home educate your children.
That's an excellent point. Thank you so much for sharing, Big Chris. I totally appreciate you letting me interview you on the spot like this. Let me ask you this, okay, parting thought here. How would you maybe encourage some of these homeschool moms and dads that are maybe watching this video as a student who went through the whole thing, graduated, doing great things now? Any kind of encouragement or thoughts or advice or tips for them?
All right. You're enough. All right. You have the resources there. If you engage with it yourself, your children will follow. There will be crying, and there will be tears, and things will get stressful, and sometimes your child will slack off and try to get away with not doing any homework for large extended periods of time, and eventually that will hit a wall, and there will be issues, but you'll prevail through it. You and your kids, you can get through it, and in spite of situations like that, in spite of when you feel like you're not adequate, you are. God's given you the tools you need. We all have the capacity to learn and grow.
That's awesome. So thank you guys so much. Please tag a friend if you feel like this is encouraging to you at all, or share this with your friends. Chris is a super guy. Get an opportunity to spend some time with him. He's just a great, great, great young man. Just a super dude. So anyway, thank you all for watching. God bless you all. Have a super day.